Hi everyone, welcome to Leftist Nerd Reacts. Thank you for watching this video, I really appreciate it. Please make sure to stay to the end to hear about upcoming content, how you can support the channel, if you like the content you're watching, and stuff that's already in the works that's going to be released. For right now, let's get into it with JJK chapter 223. Today we have the much anticipated fight finally beginning. Really the final fight that everyone's expecting. Maybe it's the final fight, maybe it's not. Between Gojo and Sukuna. The chapter starts off, honestly, I'm really just waiting for this chapter to become animated. The whole thing is cinematic, the whole thing is beautiful, and if you've read it already, you know. But the beginning really starts off like a prize fighter. We get Gojo doing pre-game prep, exposition dumping with Igichi. I know some people say Igichi, Igichi. I'm not Japanese, I say Igichi. We then get Gojo going to the roof, or it looks like the roof, in Shibuya in this tower, talking to Urahime and Gakuganji before doing his best Neferpitou impersonation, which will be mimicked later on by Sukuna's kite impersonation. I just love a good cosplay, I gotta call it out. But for right now, Gojo pops off, shows his end. We then see Gaku and Gojo have a brief chat where Gakuganji explains, hey, I killed Yaga, and he's confused why Gojo just doesn't, destroy him instantaneously. Gojo shows, hey, I got some strategy, I got some brain going on right here. He decides to let Gaku live, and we get a confirmation that all the higher-ups are basically dead. Now, whether this was Yuta and Inumaki, I know a lot of people connected that because of the candles in the previous chapter. I do think that makes a lot of sense, but it does leave it fairly open-ended, and I could see how people interpret it as Gojo just did it, because I certainly saw that at first for a second before I connected the candles. We then see Gojo on the way to everything starting, right before just giving Igichi just all the praise in the world, which he totally deserves. He really is the MVP of this chapter. We then see a amazing scene that's going to be amazingly animated when it gets there. I'm honestly really excited for that happening. Composition, the paneling, honestly, Gege Akutami is at his finest, and JJK is at its finest when it does this. We have amazing art laced with text, and the text itself is full of lore, implied lore, mechanics, rules, really text heavy stuff you'd expect to see in something like Hunter x Hunter, funnily enough the Neferpitou comparison earlier, but it just works so well. It's beautiful here. I can almost hear Urahime's steps in the top of that page. I can see her dancing. I can hear Gaku playing on what looks like it's a biwa, a very ancient ritualistic like Japanese acoustic string instrument, and in my mind Gojo is doing this whole dance routine, and it just ends fantastically. I'm very excited for when this gets animated. It's probably going to be one of the highlights of the entire season, if not the year, especially since we're getting in the end. They can really plan out the production schedule. I hope they do this justice because it seems so beautiful. Now that being said, this amazing scene ends with Gojo unleashing a ridiculously souped up hollow purple from halfway across the city. Because of the planning he did, Sukuna's a little late to the reaction, maybe like a half second, just a hair's breadth, and suffers what I would say decently. The building Sukuna's on, again, from halfway across the city, just crumbles, completely destroyed. We see some rubble, we see Sukuna walk out with, hey, there's the kite impersonation, missing the arm, and then Gojo is basically floating down, and he says, hey, don't forget, you're the challenger, I'm not, giving a little sass before the chapter ends. Now, there is some important stuff to pay attention to in this chapter. So let's start with the first. The use of the words strongest trickster in the last panel, at least in the case of the scan, I think has a few meanings here. Both in the sense that the trickster label applies to both Sukuna and Gojo, but it's soft narrator confirmation for Gojo being stronger. At least it could be taken that way, where I've also seen others say the exact opposite. And what I think is more relevant is honestly that this could just imply that Gojo might be playing a long game of tricks and traps, something I'd honestly really love, and I think JJK is again at its finest when it does that. Now this is from the fan scans, this is from TCB, so I'm curious on the official release if that word will be used here, if it becomes more about Sukuna than Gojo, or maybe it's like some wordplay on the Japanese, who knows. But I do think it's at least really interesting that those words are chosen, strongest trickster. Another point that ties directly into that, where are Gakuganji and Urahime now? Now, Gojo has obviously left the tower, He's in this what appears to be highway. Now, the question is, if you believe there are tricks and traps, my mind goes to Urahime and Gakuganji maybe setting up another trap with Igachi, maybe they're setting up another barrier or veil somewhere, doing something that is going to ultimately be Sukuna's like trump card, and he's going to lose because he doesn't have a team, blah blah blah. Sukuna is obviously very powerful, but at least what we've seen so far, a lot of his intelligence is more contextual. It doesn't seem like he has this grand plan like a Kenjaku does. It seems like he's a sheer force of nature who is intelligent enough to take advantage of opportunities when they present themselves or set things up in the future. But I do think that Gojo, if we take it as he's a trickster, you know, Urahime and Gakuganji, are they just kicking it in the tower? They're just done for the day? I don't really see that happening. Normally I wouldn't go this hard about these side characters like and where all the chess pieces are, but we're finishing the series supposedly this year, so you know, my mind is thinking about everyone all the time right now. Leading up to that, there is another point I do want to bring up. So much about this chapter has been about this reveal of Jujutsu sorcery, that it is an art of subtraction. It is all about that. And I think that Gojo's outfit plays into that, or at least to me it does. It seems very shamanic. It seems very priest-like. There are these interesting layers. There's this like necklace crossbody thing that looks like a shell on him. Obviously, a lot of people have called out that it looks like Toji, which totally fair. But I wonder if this outfit change isn't just because it's ridiculously dope, but actually has some hidden meaning. Now, that being said, if we take this angle of maybe it's heavenly, maybe it's like religious or shamanic or something, I do think that brings in a thread that Gege has kind of teased throughout the series already. And what I mean by that is we do have curse energy, but we have things very explicitly said like, hey, I am blessed amongst the heavens. This is heavenly restriction. There is literally angel. Sukuna is referenced as the fallen one. Now, if there isn't a parallel to curse technique or curse energy that's like maybe angelic or reverse cursed energy, something, who knows, I'd be curious. But I do kind of hope that there is something brought up at the last minute that isn't necessarily an automatic KO, but is maybe, I don't know, just another element to this world that kind of balances out and explains some of this other stuff. But I don't know, those are the things I think that are worth calling out so far. That being said, how do I feel about this JJK chapter? Honestly, I really enjoyed it. I think that this chapter itself is absolutely gorgeous. It's well paced. The individual chapter is just top tier shonen. Very excited. I just hope we don't get cutaways and we just stick on the Sukuna and Gojo fight for a while. I really want to see these dudes flex. I want to see how creative they can get. I am dying for a true, like, no cards left on the table. Everything is out. Fight. That being said, I can't ignore the context in which this chapter drops, where, you know, a few weeks ago my friends and I were talking about, I believe it was 221 when Gojo's released, and he says, hey, we're gonna fight December 24th. And then I thought, oh, we're gonna do a training arc. Nope, we skip right away to December 24th. Blew my mind. Wasn't expecting that. I know Gege is on pace to finish this year. He's really been he's talked about wanting to end the series by the end of 23, or within 23 at least, is my understanding. I'm seeing it a lot more. I can get it. This chapter is very well paced, but it's certainly on the heels of very quickly, very, very fast paced chapters. And I wonder to what how many more chapters we'll get. How will things play out? So JJK overall as a series, whenever a series is rushing to an end like this, especially on the author request, I always do get nervous. I think about Toriko or Yu Yu Hakusho as kind of like really great shonen series that kind of just rush to the end. And I'm all here for the mangaka's health or for them to decide to whatever else they do. But for this story in particular, I am curious where we'll end on it. That being said, we'll see. I think that JJK is in an interesting place right now, but I'm not being pessimistic. I think it's going really well. I hope that Gege can keep this level for the next few chapters and really to the end, because if so, we're gonna have an amazing ending. That being said, thank you so much everyone for coming today, for watching this video. Really appreciate it. Make sure to please like, subscribe, comment, notification bell, Patreon, you know, all the things. If you like this video, there's gonna be more content that's coming out. You can expect weekly chapter reviews for JJK, MHA, and One Piece, weekly theory videos. Every once in a while I'll be dropping discussions if I have the time to, as well as theory like compilations, the top theories from Reddit, Twitter, and hey, if you have a theory, if you have an opinion, please put in the YouTube comments. I would love to take some screenshots and some comments from these videos and see week to week, what is the fan base thinking? How is the community feeling? And really just kind of encapsulate that moving forward. That being said, the Patreon will include polls, Q&As. Obviously, JJK is ending this year. MHA looks like it might end this year, if not early next year. And those slots in my weeklies, I'd love the community to come out and say, hey, you should read X, Y, or Z. And it doesn't have to be manga exclusive. I'm happy, and it doesn't have to be shonen exclusive. I'm happy to read Jump Sunday or Cookie or anything that Clamp has done. I also read DC Comics and Marvel Comics, so getting those in there would also be really fun to have. But thank you again for staying as long as you have, and I hope to be seeing you again.